It's been very useful to be coming here more frequently. This is the third week in a row I've shown up, and yeah, so pretty grateful to be able to have this type of ongoing and very kind of alive, very lively, kind of more continuous connection here. The showing up more frequently actually does pretty obviously make the connection more pervasive in when I'm not physically here. And so...
Yeah, some would say it's like being closer to the fire, it's warmer. Right, you get the heat more directly, as opposed to looking at it from a distance, right? I understand. Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Mm. Now, there's a lot of, reaction to this kind of process, although everybody goes to school, right? Everybody obviously depends upon teachers. Everybody depends upon the police, right? Firemen. You depend upon the government, right? You depend upon your elders, right? Depend upon your father and your mother, your big brother, your big sister, whatever, right? And they're all functioning as middle people. So the criticism about, let's say, the middleman, that you don't need a middleman, is unfounded. It's not real. Okay. Because the real practice is not about a higher man, a middle man, or a lower man, or a higher woman, a middle woman, or a lower woman. See? It's about knowing what you need. See? Because such comments, oh, you don't need a middleman, is very egocentric. Yeah. And also very self-limiting and self-binding. You need the universe. You don't need a man. You need to become the man, and not just the middleman, right? You need to become the awakened man, see? The higher, deeper, more real man, the true man. You need to become the human, see? According to what's happening here. Mm. And you need to know what you need so that you can get closer to what it is you need to be and what it is you need to do for the rest of your time on earth. You want to make sure you do it, whether that's to go to school and do courses or seminars or whatever training you need. You better make sure you get it from a good middleman or a good no man, if you are speaking the language of what's going on here.
How does one find their middleman?
Let's say you can't find it. What do you do when you can't find it? See? You might be lost. You might not need one, which is the point. You need to know that you need the middleman, or you need to take the next step. Here's the middle step. Forget about the man. You have to take a next step, and you need to have another breath. You need to take the next breath, not the middle breath. You got to take the next breath. Okay. Mm-hmm. Not the middle ground, the whole ground, right? Yeah. And that's what the understanding of deepness is about. That there's a universe, and it's symbolic. Universe, language, symbolic, no doubt, may be useful to some people. They need to hear it. Not everybody needs to hear it. But because not everybody needs to hear it, doesn't in any way invalidate the needs of those who do. See? The needs of those who need a friend, the middleman, or a girlfriend, the middleman, see? Or a dog, the middleman. So anything, the middle thing. See?
So are we just talking about connection and resonance and sort of an interpersonal
thing? In other words, it's the middle world. This is the earth, so it's the middle earth. The idea of the middleman is very, very pipsqueak. It's not about a middleman. There couldn't be a middleman in reality anyway. So we're here as the human, the all man, It's called humanity, right? It's the humanity. We need everybody. We just don't need it just for somebody. You want to make sure that at least some of the somebodies you are drawn to or feel you have a connection with or you feel you need, that they have something that's going to advance your purpose, your cause, and bring you closer to something that is true. And by true, we mean free of your self-suffering. Oh, yeah. Self-limiting. And so on and so forth.
How do you know when you need...
You know. You don't have to ask, how do you know? Because you do know. So you know when you know. It's not how do you know. You know when you know. That's like asking you, how do you know you need to be here? It's just something that's beyond the question. See? Or you need to be anywhere. Here is just here. And you have the universe. So here's a moment in the just here-ness of it. But we need to open up to what the universe is. And I don't mean the chaos of the universe. See, the reality of it, the basis of it, the essence of the universe is what we need to open up to. Not just the effects of universal creation. No, we need to know what the essence of it is. So we know what the essence is that we are. Right? The essence of it. The essence of peace. See, the essence of realization, what is it? You got to put the two together. Essence, realization. What do you need to make real for yourself? You need to make happiness real for yourself. You need to make freedom real for yourself. You need to make justice real for yourself. Eh? You need to make the American dream real for you.
Yeah. How do you recognize your guru? How does one recognize?
You just know. There's no how do you. There's no how do you. There really is no how do you. It just is something. There's no real recognitional process goes on to it. You know, how do you know your next girlfriend? You have to submit a resume, to you to examine, or you just feel the connection maybe with somebody. Right? How do you know when the music is right for you? You just know it. It's not a thought process. It's not an analysis exactly. So there's a more immediate knowing. Huh? But you need to know what. It's not an immediate knowing. The question is what in that case? The immediate knowing of who? That's something that is already set up. So questions about, well, you have to be more direct. From where to where? So direct is an interesting concept. It's not real. There's nothing to be direct to because you're being what it is. You're already directness. You need to know that. It's already happening. And so we use a figure of speech, well, you need to be more direct. Right. What does that mean? How can you be more direct than being here? Right. We need to know that we are being here and to find what the directness is. See? That your perceptions allow you to be. See? It doesn't mean you know anything. You just know you're being here. And that might be all, or as much as you might need to know to start from. But you're here, and then, okay, what does that mean to you? See? If it means anything, okay, so you at least know you're here. And that could be perfect. And we can apply that to people who are incarcerated. Oh, you just need to know you're here, right? That's all you need to know, right? Right, and their questions follow along the lines of, well, for how long do I need to be here? We're assuming they know why they got there and that they know how they got there. So it's not a question. You are there. What do you do with that? Say, what else do you need to draw from in your situation of being here already? Say. So the question of directness doesn't apply exactly. Say. It's a trick game. You're not direct enough. That means you're not real enough. See? We are not perfect enough. See? No, we are perfect already. Enough. But at what level? I think that's the question. What level?
original impetus for actually getting in touch with you and showing up initially, however many years ago it was to see this wisdom that I've been reading about and hearing about and kind of playing with mentally, in person. And
are you speaking in terms of your Buddhist interests?
Buddhist interests, even pre-Buddhist, like Native American stuff.
Native interests.
Yeah.
That's also Buddhist. It's everything. Native. No.
Yeah.
Original. Yeah.
And the opportunity to interact directly has been, I think, much more profound and more real than my interpretations of all of the stuff that I interacted with. Seeing, not just seeing it manifest, but interaction seems incredibly important for this process.
Well, I think your interest in music and the guitar and drums has also made it very obvious to you that you are dealing with a creative force and a creative intelligence. So it's just doubtless when you are, let's say, a lover of music, jazz music, creative music, avant-garde music, right? You can hear it. And you've studied the music here for years, right? You've studied the virtuoso here for years and the virtuosity here, right? As you play the instrument. So you have a connection with it. And it's very direct in your case. Understood because you're a musician. This is about what a musician can do and what a certain musician actually does. Right? Not that it's better, it's never better, it just is what it is. So, yeah. And so going beyond the music appearance and let's say the mastery of sound, which music is, a certain demonstration of virtuosity, then we're talking about that seen from the inside, not just from the physical demonstration, the obvious, perhaps entertaining or humiliating. If it is for some people humiliating to hear this kind of music, so be it. That's relative. Humiliating to some and inspiring to others. So relative. Art. Purpose. And so we are talking then about the consciousness that it comes from. What is the basis for the music? Most musicians have a musical basis for the music. And an egoic basis, a self basis, which is a good place to start. It's not bad, it's good. But then for other people that's not enough. That's too superficial, say. It's too fundamental. Say. It's kind of academic, it's like it's a school mind. Yeah? And you go to professional mind. Yeah? And then you go to the creative mind. And you go beyond that to transcendent mind in music. There are examples of that in the jazz field, where there's nothing to hold on to, there's nothing happening, and just power's coming through. So, which then it sounds like some kind of spiritual realization, manifesting music, particularly. And it could be manifesting wisdom. Same thing. Coming from the same place, differently, manifesting. It has the same ring to it, that it's so deep you don't want to touch it. See? But you want to get close to it. Because everybody resonates with the deepness because they are deepness in evolution, deepness in progress. See? You don't want your deep to be your death point, right? Where you're thrown into ultra deepness all at once, called the death experience. And you have no control. You want to know about that before you go there. So dealing with the, let's say, intimate communication with mediums, people who are in touch with more than one reality, by nature, it's not by theory. If you have the ears, then you hear it. If you have the eyes, then you see it. If you have the heart, then you might feel it. See? Then you have that level of communication to handle and reality to resonate with, so to speak.
And you didn't mention understand, which has actually been a point that has been coming up a lot, especially reading your books. There is something in your writing that is directly contradictory to understanding what you're saying. In a
By
certain
intention.
way.
It's perfect. It's exact. Yeah. That's precisely what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Defy understanding. See, pure creativity defies understanding. Yeah. Pure revelation, spiritually speaking, defies understanding. See? Surpasses understanding. See? Okay, then you have the presence of what could be called the divine or the unknowable, the incomprehensible. See, that's human. Yeah. Yeah. When the human is open enough to let that come through, it comes through. Yeah. And then it is what it is. And traditions, spiritual traditions, which I have a very special relationship to, and ancestrally speaking, let's say these situations that offer people a certain access to a level of themselves they may be afraid of reaching and intimately communicating with. See? But it's human potential. See? It's creative potential. And a lot of people are in resonance with that. And so they avoid it. They know it's real. But they don't have to say it's real, see, necessarily, for it to be real. It is real. There's no question about it. The real is real. And a person's fear about it or apprehension or lack of resonance or lack of karma in that way doesn't make it less real. Then it's the individual's mind that is causing them apprehension and doubt, confusion, and self-division about it. There's no question about it. It is what it is. And the spiritual is very real, maybe too real for most people. See? And channels are very, very real, and also maybe too real for most people. See? Mediums, or whatever you want to call it, whether the mediums are being used by the Dalai Lamas or the other leaders in all of these great religions where they need more vision, they need more insight and more knowing than they themselves can access. They need a leap, so they go to someone who can make that leap. Okay? Call it a middleman, call it the right man or the right woman, the right one, so that you have what you need to know. Okay? You have to be smart enough to use what it is that they may be doing for your own purpose. Everyone, that is, not just you personally. And so, if you need to know something, you need to go to someone who knows it if you don't know it. There will be somebody who knows. You just need to know that you can find someone if you have a need to know. If you don't have a need to know and you like being in your little rut, no problem. See, and you don't care if you know or not, you have to take what comes with that. And no one cares. If you don't care, who cares? But to say that it's not real is stupid. See? Because it is real. We can't even imagine what is real for some humans. See? Especially those who have access to intergalactic communication with aliens or via alien, let's say, correspondence. So for some people it's just too much for them. It's inconceivable until you may have an encounter with such a reality, and then it's too much for you to handle. You have to figure out how to best handle it yourself. So we don't say that it's fortunate for many who experience these things. A lot of people's egos are involved in this kind of, I guess you might say, assessing it in a way that, well, they love to see an alien. They want to see it. They want to know about it. But clearly, anything that is advanced, it can be too much for most people. Yeah. And that's what it is. It becomes toxic. Certain people are toxic because of their advancement or progression what they know that others don't have resonance with. And that could be also said for music. And obviously, it is that in music as well. Some music's too strong for people. It's toxic to them. They react to it. Say, no, that's not good. See, not knowing it is great, but they're not ready for it. See? That it's the next step for the human race, maybe. Most people are in need of that. See? Not yet. See? They have to experience more first. See? It's an evolutionary progression.
It seems like there even could be a little bit of a contradiction between that mechanism and people that fear what they don't know, what they can't yet kind of resonate with, and
fear of the not known. Yeah. That's fear of self-limitation. It's fear of yourself. Fear of what you've inherited as a program from your ancestors' selves. From their self. It's passed on. Mm-hmm. It's a bloodline. And then there are positive things in the bloodline. But there are certainly negative things in the bloodline. And that is, ordinary consciousness. Ordinary. Suffering. Delusion. Not seeing clearly. Not feeling. Not knowing. Right. Not knowing. Exactly. Not knowing what's real. Okay. Especially in terms of the way your mind works, which creates more garbage and gunk for you than you're willing to be responsible for. So, oh no, that's what I am. That's what I feel. That's what I know. No, that's all you know, and that's not enough. Okay. You got to know the universe. See, not just what you see in the mirror and you wake up with, in terms of what your hauntings are that you can't even fess up to, as ancestrally based stuff that has been carried around and dragged around by yourself for your whole life. Mm-hmm. The whole life, not even just today, not even just now, the whole life. See, you are that to get beyond. That's the step you have to be willing to take, or the leap you need to take. Because we are leapers. We're not just stuck in these gravitational body bags, flesh bags. This is the starting point. Again, if you introvert it and you materialize it, you can enjoy that. That's the first step. You have to expand. You have to open it up. To have a better sense of what your relationship is to time, space, matter, and energy, let alone mind. See? The field of mind, the field of consciousness. Okay? These are words. But, they're also windows, I call them. Like windows. Windows of seeing through and into other levels of reality which are given to us as humans to use, to expand our base and expand our, let's say, you used the word understanding, and our wisdom capacity. To have a deep enough understanding so that you feel at peace more than not. See? With yourself, your life, and what it is you need to do. That you're at peace. And thus creative. Not at peace and thus nothing. Right. Okay. And I love the word nothing. See? Right. Yeah. And in the spiritual works, it's not given as a negative. A lot of people think, oh, nothing means without. No, that's the appearance of it. See, the nothing in the way is not the nothing of without. See? Nothing in the way means clear. So nothingness means ultimate clearness. Huge, real clear, only clear. It means realization then. So nothingness and realization are synonymous. See? It's a rather mystical process perhaps, but these are just words, but they're more than words. Words are more than words, and words are not even words.
So, do you play guru? I mean, do you have followers, or are you paid for anything?
No. No, I answer questions. That's my shtick. That's what I was raised to do. I had elders. Most critics of what I do haven't had elders in the way that I have had elders. Say, native wisdom people whose hearts were all about the wisdom and compassion. I see. So what I do, I ask my children to do. I ask old people to do. Do I ask for money? Do I want money? Zero. Zero. No human being can say they paid me for anything. Maybe an astrology reading when I was younger. They can make a donation, but it's whatever they put in the pot if they want to put it in there. If they don't have anything. I read because I read. The guru thing is a concept. We have to speak. You're not a guru because you speak. See? Now, anyone who sheds light on an issue could be considered a guru. And if you have more knowledge than anybody else in the room, you're the guru in the room. You know, depending on what the specialty is. If you walk into a conference and you happen to be a scientist who is more extreme than some of the others, you're the guru. So it's not like what you know is based upon being a guru. No. You're satisfying your own need to know. So when your own need to know satisfies the level of knowing that you have, then you can be called anything. You can be called an idiot, as I've been called an idiot. See? Fool. You know, all kinds of names. Right? Genius. You know, guru. Master. Yeah. Depends on how true you are to what you know to be the heart in you. And what you hear. See? See? I hear women singing to me, but there's nobody around. See? It's not physical. I hear song in that way, like women's voices. It could be my mother's from when I was a child. She was always singing to me. That could be replay. So, in other words, it's what you're given in a spiritual sense if you are in a position to be given anything in a spiritual sense. See? But you may not know, you may not want to know what you're given spiritually, and that's your business. No one cares about that. Or you can be wide open spiritually and be given a lot, and people around you will know that. They'll know that you've been given something and they want to hear it from you. See? Like people know in my case, because they say so. Not because I say so. People, when I'm playing gigs, they come up to me and they say, we heard enough music, now we know we can ask you certain questions. We heard it in the music. We got a spiritual something from you. And I said, good, it's part of what is going on here. It's part of the continuum. It's not special, it's not egoic. You have a need to know, you have a need to hear me speak, I'll speak for you. You know, so really then heart resonance is not any egotism and intellectual nonsense. Say, superficial curiosities. It's not at that level. Yeah. It's for real. Word you were using before is native. See? As natives, we're all on the same ground. So there's no higher, no lower, no guru fears and paranoia about gurus or doctors or police people or the military. There's none of that. Neuroses. See? Boogeyman complexes. None of that. You hear what you hear. If it works, good. If it doesn't. That's good too.
Among others, you've used the word crazy wisdom, or the term.
Yes. Wisdom that is not easily grasped. Maybe wisdom that is not wisdom as such. So that means level of wisdom. Crazy wisdom. That also means paradoxical wisdom. So don't be afraid of that. See? We live in a paradox, but our minds are not up to it. See? We're living the paradox of knowing not knowing, and not knowing knowing. We live in that paradox. See? But we're not sitting with it, abiding in it in such a way where we can properly, objectively, let's say, analyze it and use it for ourselves. But yogis and other similar practitioners or extremely, let's say, deep-minded individuals, regardless of culture, regardless of education, regardless of disposition. I mean, they have it in them. Yeah? Then it becomes something we can say along the lines of psychogenetics. See, psychic genetics. See, the gene. If you have the gene, it uses you. If it's a good gene, you allow it to use you. If it's a bad gene, then you have to be fighting with it and other people all the time over it. See, because you're creating what you don't want to create, and that's damage. See, and hardship and confusion and pain and suffering for others. Yeah? Mm-hmm. And so, if you have peace with it, if you wrestle the demonic side of it and subdue it properly with intelligence, creative intelligence, of course, and it's over and it's not, yeah? And you bring something else to the people. But you have to have a sense of responsibility and consciousness about it to be able to do that. Mm-hmm. But we're here to create peace, if we can, or worse, if that's all we've got. Comment.
The quote, a virtuoso can hit the target nobody else can hit, and a genius can see the target nobody else can see.
Or hear it. Yeah, or touch it. Or know it beyond, or there's not nobody else, but most. Let's say most. We can change those phrases about genius here, see, and correct them. Yeah. It's more inclusive than not. Yeah. You have ordinary genius, intellectual genius, you have intuitive genius. The intuitive is more powerful, especially when it manifests in music. It's more powerful. And it can show up more powerful earlier too, in the line. Earlier in time. Comment.
What do you mean by that? It'll show up earlier, or can?
As a child, it can show up. Shows up early. And the kid doesn't even know it. It doesn't think. It doesn't have a self in the same way that, more developed egos see themselves. Come in. And that's what we're talking about in terms of practice, is getting in touch with that in us that collapses. Let's say the child, and the man, and let's say the great, collapses it into presence. Yeah. Present.
Does intuitive genius have the same potential to show up in everybody as does enlightenment?
No, not particularly. It doesn't have everybody else does in it. See? It doesn't have that. See? It has nothing to do with the ego, so it doesn't have that. Everybody elseness in it. It just is. See? It's what is. And that's where I play from. I play from what it is for me in the moment with whoever and wherever we are in a position to be with the music. It's what is, I call it true. I can say it's my true. That's because I respect relativity. So it's not like the my is real. It's like just being conventionally appropriate. Well, yeah, this is my garbage. This is my madness. See? Right. This is my chaos or bliss or beauty or whatever. Say, no, this is what's given to me. This is my load. This is my bag of goodies. It's given to me to share, not to just hog down. But if I'm playing music, I'm sharing it. It's not like I'm going to pick up the bag and just dump the whole thing on my head. See? No, it's given to share with others, because this is a common nativeness of it, see, because we're all in the same ground here. See? Mm-hmm. Right, but we don't all play the same music, we don't all sing the same songs, we don't all have the same ideas. It's not given that way. Yeah. See? If I didn't hear things differently, I wouldn't have my music out there. I'm playing music that I don't hear out there, and so I do. I'm writing books that I don't read out there, so I write them because I have something given to me that's spoken to me. I can use that language to show this is not about a particular kind of ego trip. I have no interest in writing. I have no interest in ideas. They're just given. You have to understand that. Yeah. It's just given. And I only write a particle of what I'm given. So like a semi-dot, particle of a dot, what I have going on in my head, which I feel doesn't belong to me particularly. It belongs in the field of human intercourse, human nature. See? Because some of what I hear is solutionary. It's not problemic. It's solutionary. It depends on what you hear. And depends on what your relationship is to what you hear. And if you can hear it in such a way, like, that's useful to other peeps, or is universal, even better. Where you know it's universally true. And it has that resonance, that sense, that taste, let's say, that sound, that ring to it. So I said, no, this is true not just for yourself. This is true for all beings, or many who are similarly disposed or karmically, I guess you might say, endowed or cursed in some cases. Talking about the curse of music, the curse of suffering, and the curse of wisdom, and the curse of liberation, or the gift. Same thing. Gift is curse, curse is gift. So we have to be open to intuitive genius. We have to be sensitive enough to know that our neurosis sometimes fuels it, or a type of genius, which I've written about, or it obstructs it, and preventing another level of genius that I've written about. From my own experience of knowing and not knowing, and playing and not playing, hearing and true hearing. So I have an obligation to share with others, not as an egomaniac, but as a servant. See, as a native on the same ground. So, okay, it's given to me. I don't hear anybody else talking about it in that way. Maybe I put it out here, and maybe it rings true to certain people. Yeah. And it has rung true with certain people. They've gotten back to me on it. So, and they are intelligent people, because they say, we know you're not out here to fool anybody. You're not out here to hustle anybody. You don't have that tone. I said, it's true. Neither was my mother, neither was my grandfather out here to hustle anybody. It's just passed on, gently, from, hand to hand, mind to mind, ear to ear, and heart to heart. See? That means in a family manner. It has more power than let's say, just analysis when you get it through the family. It sinks in deeper, differently, and maybe more deeply. So. And I remember my elders saying, "Oh no, mijo, son, you get it. You need to keep walking. You get it. It'll come to you." And we're talking about the maturation process. See, the wisdom healing process, and the wisdom hearing process. Crazy, crazy wisdom hearing process. See. We are gathered here, in terms of what we need to hear as humans, between each other, and there's nations between one another. And there's planets between planetary beings. See? And beings we can't see. And because we can't see, only an idiot says they don't exist. See? A materialist is an idiot. Because unless they have the material proof of it, and how are you going to get very much and very quick material proof of something that's not material? Right, so science at that level is very slow. Right? It's in the rock. Right? It's in the stone. It's in the granite. So to get it, what it needs out of that requires a tremendous amount of power and fire to melt it down. And the earth presently is melting down. We're having a meltdown, so that's good, and it's not so good also.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot. It seems like destructive force right now out there.
Say again?
With, you mentioned what's going on with the earth melting down.
Yeah, I'm not questioning about it. I see it, I know it. It's obvious, it's been obvious.
I guess that brings up the question, or maybe it's more of an observation that destruction is part of the spiritual process. And
there is no destruction, just creation. Extended to recreation. It's just recreation, it's continual motion, it's the continuum. Manifesting itself in the form of earth changes, but it's a continuum. If you study the nature of the earth and the history of the earth, if you could do that, then you would see there's been nothing but change. This is the land of the dinosaurs not too long ago. Maybe even not even that long ago, right? Mm-hmm. And we would be lunch, dinosaur lunch, for the most part, unless we can make one a pet. Right? You fed it properly and you raised it. Like people do dogs, you have your dinosaur pet. Possible. Why have a closed mind about it? It's possible. Yeah. A genius understands the possibilities. It's all possible. It's possible to be here, possible not to be here. So it's a different kind of perspective of things. It's possible to play certain notes, it's possible to go way beyond those notes. In the same moment. See? The notes and the no notes. That is, there's more room, see? Space. See? And so coming from a sense of inner space, and that being related to infinite space and creativity, it's all there is. So we need to undo ourselves and our suffering. And that's part of our job as humans. You see, it's to be able to detect something that's not right in us and just clarify it and straighten it out. See? And what's painful, correct it. See? Like that. Work on it. But you go to see a doctor, or you see doctors, you go to healers, whatever. You want to get down to that so that you can be of more use here. See? You're not realizing your potential if you're just home complaining about your limitations or about the world. Just complaining is like completely non-creative. You got to do something about it. You have to heal yourself, bring yourself up. And that's what the awakening process, so-called, is about. Continual awakening yourself to what is self-defeating in your case, and what is self-revealing in your case, and then what is recreative in your case, self-creating in your case. And so we need to have the attitude that is open to that. The mind, it's really about the mind, consciousness. And being able to follow that up in practical terms. Say, no, I need to find people who are similarly motivated and determined and interested. Say, so called finding common ground with others. And that was already spoken to you earlier in terms of people you have to work with. So have a more effective screening process. In other words, you need to know in advance. If you can get to that point, you're in good standing. So you have to think that deeply, where you know in advance what people are going to do. So in other words, when you meet somebody, you need to know in that instant what it is and what's going to happen. Not by imagination, that's the trick. How do you do that without imagining? How do you then defer to knowing? You need to know about that first and then practice that. So, and it's all in the practicing. It's not a spiritual thing. Maybe it's psychic, maybe psychological. It's anything but spiritual. When it comes to your mind, it's mental. The spiritual is far too fine, too subtle for most people. It's non-material. It's faster. It's instantaneous. It's already done. It's already known.
When I show up here, I'm used to, I guess, in a certain sense, reflecting people back at themselves and kind of experiencing what's going on with them through what's showing up in me. Mm-hmm. And here, it seems almost entirely different because I'm not getting anything, in that, through that channel. And maybe said more articulately, I'm getting nothing.
That's perfect. You came here for nothing, no reason at all.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, there's nothing happening here, but you know that. Other people think there's something else going on here. There's nothing happening here. And this is what the fear is about. It's the fear of nothing. See? We can say there's nothing to fear, right? Which is a playing on the words. It's the fear of nothing. Yeah. Right. And then we're talking about nothing in a conventional sense of defining nothing. There's nothing to do. Oh my goodness, I'm in ultimate boredom here, right? Nothing. We wish you could know what the nothing is in a higher sense, right? The no thing. And that's pretty basic. No thing to suffer. No one to suffer is not theory. It's a path you have to find for yourself. When you awaken to the fact that, well, you've created everything you're suffering, and you're reinforcing it on a daily basis. You're in love with it. You're allowing yourself to be romanced by your own limitations. Mm-hmm. And you're in your own doom of horrors that you created because of your addictions and your attachment to materialism, which is not bad, but make it work for you. If you're going to be materialistic, make it work for you. If you're going to be spiritual or musical, make it work for you. As I used to tell the jazz musicians back in New York City, back in the day when I was playing with Mr. Pharaoh Sanders, I would say, no, you're playing the wrong music, brothers. And some of them were offended by that. Said, well, we're playing jazz. There's no doubt about everybody playing jazz. The issue is, what level of jazz are you playing that relieves you of your suffering and your pain? Being a certain kind of drum, let's say child of the drums, I've always had this connection with that. And so what that proves to me is that people have their connections with that, but they must have lost them. At least the drums, part of what I do. The whole life, even though there were years when I was in the military and I wasn't playing, I was divorced from it, disconnected. But the truth of it was really working for me because I, by accident, wound up in the army band. By fluke, I was, not interested in that at the time. And oh my Lord, how I needed that. Well, I didn't know that. See? So the unconscious here was already set up. Predestination was at work. Mm. And we have some of that happening. We need to be open in that sense to what it is we need to see that helps to undo our suffering and what seems to be our bad karma, our self-created sadness, and so on and so forth. So I give my example as somebody who's just here in the universal circus, but following certain lines, which is what the psychics are supposed to do. So, not that I'm one, but I was in the family of the psychics, so I have an understanding of what that is. So, you follow these lines, follow these threads, so you know where you come from, you know where the light is in your case. Because it may not be only about your blood and your parents, so who may be your worst enemies in some cases, by predestination. And you need to figure that out for yourself. And many people have come to me who are in that particular boat, say, of having worst enemy parents, and where the blood was their problem. And they were struggling with that and getting beyond that. And that was their gift, was that it was made a problem. Their gift was that the blood was a hardship. They had to use that. See? Mm-hmm. And as I've written, no hardship, no genius. Sorry. No hardship, lots of pressure, good. It's a step on the path. And when you get to that place where the pressure is stupendous, then you're getting close to what it is. It's unbearable pressure. Mm-hmm. No doubt. Creative tension then. Not the kind that's easily released through sexual play. I'm not talking about that. It's a temporary relief. It's a quick fix. Talking about a different level of obsession and possession. Comment?
Which is that? Which level?
You can imagine. Well, the unbearable level. You have to imagine it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Because everybody knows what that is. If you go deeper into your own experience, you know what that is. And you know where your ancestors came from, then you know it's our nature to have unbearable experience. Unbearable pain and suffering. We know that. It's in the blood. Beautifully so. In many of the traditions, and even in regard to mastery, spiritual mastery, mastering of, let's say, emotions, okay? Mastery of thought patterns and bad habits, toxic, let's say, programming, self-intoxicating stuff, and having mastered these, let's say, basic levels of operation, say, or dynamics, as they were called in Scientology, the dynamics, lower dynamics, or as called in yoga technology, lower chakra dynamics, same thing. Mm-hmm. Putting the physical to peace, putting the sexual emotional to peace, putting the, say, in this case, third chakra, say, connections to biologic, blood, karma to peace, and coming up to the fourth, putting that to peace. Putting these things to peace is individual responsibility, see? And so it's appropriate to know we have that to master. Because then, if we're not taking care of that business, we're being enslaved to it. And the whole idea is to get to a universal level of productive creativity. And offering ourselves up in the process so that we are used, I mean, of course, to make money, as materialistic people have every good intention to do, is to make money, and fine, make as much as you can. Don't let it rule you or ruin you, but make as much as you can. It's your right to do that. Okay. Then we talked about the spiritual side of that. It's equally your right to do that. The spiritual is more nebulous, it's more inaccessible for the most part. There's a lot of talk about it, and everybody's saying, "Oh, well, I've done this, I've done that, You've done nothing but indulge yourself. There's nothing spiritual in that. Oh, I've done it. You haven't done anything yet. You're being done in now, basically. See, we're being done in now by our own karma. See, by our own forgetfulness, our own falseness. So we need to have some intuitive sense of seeing where the karma as blood brings us into our situation and fuels our need for creative intelligence, fuels our, let's say, need for heart pressure. So we feel the heart of humanity more than just our own soul, personal soul. So we're talking about the impersonal reality. So it's common amongst the masters to speak about the impersonal reality. More so than the personal reality. The personal reality is where you start at. It's like the kindergarten level of it, the personal. We want to move as far away from that properly, progressively, masterfully move beyond that so that we are in that place where we're in the neutral, where you're not victimized, but you are victorious in accomplishing what your purpose is, if you know what that is for yourself. You're doing what, let's say, is already known in the case of a certain type of genius, like not having anything else in the way but that thing, whatever the thing is for you. For many it's porno, for many it's others it's music, for others it's comedy, for others it's literature, for others it's science, for others it's religion, for others it's something else to the extreme. Flying now, right? Get one of these flight suits. You're just flying all around, the want to be a bird thing. Right? And so that's great. See? And you got to take what comes with it. In every case, you have to take what comes with it. See? But fearlessness then is the way. Fearless is the way. No fear. Then you are in communion with what it is. There's no room for fear. There's no space for it. There's no need for fear because you're in communion. Come on.